Great. Thanks, everyone. So my name is Josh Parenteau. I'm an outbound product manager at Looker. And I want to talk about a question that we get from a lot of customers, who are thinking about building applications or have a product where they want to infuse analytics. The question is, should we build those analytic capabilities using open source and try to do it ourselves, or should we leverage, a data platform or an analytics platform? And the analogy I always think about with this is, if you think about a car manufacturer and, they don't build all of the components that go into a vehicle, right? They are focused on assembly, manufacturing, distribution, and they rely on a lot of suppliers to supply them with components. One example being audio systems. And there's a couple areas where I think this sort of is a good parallel to thinking about analytics and your products. They kind of use the things like audio systems and other components of the car to differentiate their own tiers of offerings, their own trim packages of their vehicles. And you just saw in the Drizzly example, that's exactly what they're doing. Their own products are brought to market with different tiers, different offerings based on what they're doing from an analytics perspective. So we'll talk more about kind of what that looks like in the context of building a data platform and building data products a little bit later. The other thing is, I think, if we think about analytics, it's not really optional. It's as optional as a stereo system in a vehicle, right? It's required. So there is a bare minimum requirement that customers expect. But there's also, I think, an increasing expectation that, we're going to do more than just deliver reports and dashboards and basic analytics. So I think we need to think about that. And can we use that as a way to, generate more revenue, increase our differentiation in the products that, that you guys are building, and really just creating new revenue streams, net new revenue streams. Now, again, getting back to well, should I build that or should I buy that? I think there's a few fundamental things we need to sort of think about. There's three areas, right? There's technical, kind of the economical aspects, and then just sort of the ecosystem and community considerations of going with a vendor as opposed to going it on your own. So let's jump in. The technical considerations, so I think these boil down to sort of three buckets. There's risk associated with building on your own, thinking about sort of flexibility and future proofing, and just innovation in general. Again, I think this is it's an area, analytics and just, being able to analyze data in almost every product is becoming really, really critical. And like I said already, it's not optional. So how do you stay ahead of the curve? How do you continue to innovate in that area? So let's jump in and go a little bit deeper. I think one of the reasons people even ask the question, should I build this on my own, is because, we don't think about the whole picture, what it really requires to infuse analytics or build a deep analytic application. I think most people think of it sort of as, I need to add some charts into my product. And we think about UI and UX, user interface and user experience. But there's a lot more than that under the cover, under the surface. Thinking about things like authentication, permissioning, how is this going to work in the context of the product that you're trying to put analytics into? And you heard Drizzly talk about a lot of these things. They don't want to be worried about checking all of these boxes and making sure they didn't miss something around performance or security or governance. So there's a lot of areas where, thinking about, do I really know all the things that I need to take care of to protect my product from going down, from being non-performant, from being exposed to security risks just because I'm trying to introduce analytics into it? It does introduce a lot of risk. So I do think there's the argument to be made here that a data platform like Looker is focused specifically on these areas. So again, why waste your time focusing on this when you really should be thinking about the go-to-market and your product meeting your customers' needs? So that's the risk piece. Flexibility and future-proofing. I think when you think about an application that you're building or product that you're building that you're trying to embed analytics into, there's a lot of moving parts around it. So kind of on the left here is there's a lot of potential changes in your architecture, in your data sources. What happens if you are hosting data in a underlying database, in the cloud, and you want to move to another one? That should be easy to do, and it should be not disruptive. So are you sort of thinking about that, and are you architecting, if you're going your own route, are you architecting your application and your product to be that flexible? On the other side of it is, customer requirements are going to change. They will evolve over time, and a lot of times those changes will drive changes to the data architecture. So, again, I think really thinking about how can you create the most flexible, future-proofed architecture, recognizing that, the product that you're building will have to evolve and morph over time as things change. And then, thinking about innovation, I mentioned dashboards and basic visualizations they're table stakes, right? People just expect that in every product that they consume, no matter what it is. But if you think about, how do we drive more monetization? How do we drive more differentiation in our products? A lot of times the answer will be through engaging in more advanced analytics and things that don't really look like BI, right? They're custom data applications. So those are going to be more valuable. They are going to drive more revenue for you, but they're also going to be more complex, right? They're going to take more time to develop. They're going to require more of your technical skills, your internal resources. And the more you build, the more you do, the more maintenance it's going to take. So, being able to do those really innovative things, if you try to do them again on your own, one, it may be really difficult to even get to the right end of that spectrum just because of some of the complexities that are involved in some of the nuance. And again, vendors who are in this space, like Looker, are focused on innovation, on staying ahead of that curve. So, it seems much easier to leverage kind of what they're doing as opposed to trying to replicate it on your own. It's going to be a difficult thing to stay ahead of the curve and create that differentiation. Economic considerations. So I'll start, I mentioned this earlier. I think the notion that it's going to be really inexpensive to go your own and build your own analytic capabilities is sort of, again, what starts this conversation. But really the economic considerations boil down into, time to market, time to becoming cash flow positive and starting to generate revenue, and thinking about opportunity costs around building your own versus leveraging, a data platform that can help you accelerate. So let's jump into this. I think, and we talked to a lot of customers who've again gone down this path where they think about building their own, leveraging open source and going the free route, and they end up spending a disproportionate amount of time in the foundational aspects. So trying to do basically trying to build their own data platform that they can leverage in their products. So they're spending a lot of time doing all of the plumbing and wiring, so to speak, and not really focusing on what analytic capabilities should they be delivering and what do the customers really want, and how can you sort of create that that multi-tier architecture which will help to drive monetization. They're spending a lot of time on the left side of this, which doesn't really translate into a quick time to value, quick time to market. So really focusing on, market fit, what application should you be building is sort of where you should be as opposed to the foundational side. Likewise, it's going to take longer to translate your investments in analytics into growth and monetization if you're just building the foundation. I think there's there's an aspect here which I touched on earlier around, even if you do build a really solid foundation for the one application that you're building, what about exploiting other opportunities? Or how do you get out of sort of the maintenance cycle of building, continuously building and iterating on that sort of one application? Your goal should be go to market, driving revenue, and looking to do more of that again. And you can't do it if you're spending a lot of time, trying to replicate what a analytics vendor would do. And we saw Drizzly had a good example of this as well. Theirs was expressed, as sort of the metal, right? Bronze, silver, gold, good, better, best, and thinking about there's a table stake aspect of analytics and what people are expecting that, you could sort of consider that the good, and that might not even be something you can directly monetize. It's just something that people are expecting in the product. But using some of the advanced capabilities of a platform like Looker allows you to easily create this multi-tier model, the more advanced trim packages, so to speak, to go back to the car analogy. So, a better option might be, more data available. Good might have 12 months available, better might have 24. Good might be, just aggregated data that you really can't drill down into. Better might be, just more granular detailed data. And best might offer just additional capabilities and functionality around scheduling, alerting, maybe even interactive ad hoc analysis. There's a lot of things you can do here, but the whole goal is to make your products more valuable by putting more advanced analytic capabilities in there. So again, thinking about, is that really something I could do on my own? You may think that the good level is something you could do on your own, but is that enough? Is that enough to move the needle, and are you really going to be maximizing your potential? Couple examples, again, just to sort of reiterate that point. There's a couple of customers that we highlighted here, just again to show that multi-tier offering, and again the dollar amounts associated with that. So there's a lower cost, sometimes free option, that's a baseline kind of entry point, and then there's tiers up above and beyond that offer additional capabilities. This is where I think understanding what your customers are really in need of, what they value, and what they would pay for, frankly. What functionality are they sort of expecting you to deliver in your products, and which ones would be value add to them? So, it could be the peer comparisons. It could be some benchmark data or some external data that you're integrating, that you're making available through your product, through by leveraging Looker and the data platform underneath that. And then, I think it's important to think about sort of the opportunity costs. From one perspective, it's, there are data and analytics, building solutions is a huge priority. So this is a quote from Gartner that, 45% of respondents in a survey they did essentially are saying that they're going to increase their investment in building data and analytics solutions. So, if you're a laggard here, you're a laggard, right? Your competitors most likely are thinking about analytics and using it strategically. So there's an opportunity cost there, where if you're bogged down building the foundation or maintaining one application, you're not going to be able to keep up with your competitors. The other is you're using resources, your valuable resources, but again, probably maybe not totally strategically, where you could be if you sort of shifted them away from the, how do we do authentication? How do we handle security? How do we make this performant and scalable? To, how do we maximize our revenue, right? What things should we be building in from a functionality perspective that will drive customer adoption, increase customer just retention, and again, drive just more monetization. And then finally, the ecosystem consideration. So again, a lot of this you really won't get if you go it yourself. If you're looking to try to bring in open source capabilities around charting, let's say, you're kind of on your own. So what are some of the things that a vendor delivers, a vendor like Looker, with respect to ecosystem, communities, partner network that you can leverage, and then I think really importantly, customer references. So let's go through those really quickly here. Again, I think what this boils down to is the fact that there's a lot of help available from others who've done similar things that you're trying to do, right? They've built applications, they've learned things that I think you can benefit from. So the community aspect, vendor supported, vendor sponsored communities, developer communities. So again, obviously we're talking about technical resources here and just technical requirements. So leveraging a developer community who can get into the weeds with some of the things that they've learned from working with Looker. And then marketplace, there's a lot of things that, in the interest of not reinventing the wheel, you can leverage from a marketplace. Developers are creating, even putting data sets out or creating custom visualizations. Looker does a lot of that as well, from a marketplace perspective. So, can you tap into things that have already been figured out, have already been learned, and integrate those into your products without a lot of work and just make it really easy? The second is the partner network. So, Looker Looker in and of itself, but also as part of Google Cloud, has a lot of just hooks into the partner network. So technology partners and integrations with technology partners. So if there's a capability that you're looking to deliver that Looker doesn't offer natively, it could be something that is very easy to integrate into Looker's data platform, hence into your product, just through our technical integration. It could be something within Google Cloud, but it also could be something within one of our partners, the third-party partners that we've built relationships with. System integrators. So, we have a lot of regional and global system integrators with expertise in Looker, again, that can help with development of applications and just with Looker in general. They're regionally available. There's industry specialization as well. So I think, a lot of times people are looking to build applications that are specific to a certain function within their industry. And we have a lot of partners that are specialists in, things like healthcare, manufacturing, media. So those are really, available to tap into. And then customer references, I think, and there's a lot of areas where I think they're valuable. Can be a really good source of ideas. And when you think about your product and you think about, how can I use analytics to go, beyond sort of basic BI and beyond what people think about in terms of BI to generate new revenue streams, to create differentiation, there's a lot of really good examples out there. A lot of good Looker customers are doing things like that already, can be a really good source of inspiration. Just technical validation of your approach. Again, a really good opportunity to sort of vet what you're thinking and get feedback and advice from folks who've gone down that path already. Thinking about your go-to-market validation. So a lot of times, if you're not a ISV, if you're not a software vendor and you're an enterprise and you're trying to monetize your data, I think, how do you know what tiers to create or what to put into those tiers? How do you price them? How do you create sort of that differentiation in your tiers? Do you even have a minimum, MVP, a minimally viable product? And then just vendor validation. If obviously, from a is Looker going to be a good data platform for you? I think hearing from customers who are using Looker for their needs, I think, is a really good source of just validation when you're going through the evaluation and selection process. So just wrapping up here, I think, thinking about the art of the possible. And again, I think here's an example from Fox where, again, thinking back to some of the stuff that Drizzly was showing and some of the commentary, this does not look like a BI tool, right? It doesn't look like a spreadsheet. It looks and feels like an application. This was built on the Looker platform, but it doesn't always have to be large enterprises, right? Everyone has access to the same level of capabilities. Again, I think when you sort of think about should I build or should I buy? Should I leverage a specialist like Looker to build my applications? It levels the playing field. Here's an example from Park Mobile, which did I think a really amazing job building a custom app that looks and feels like their brand. Again, you would never think of this as a BI tool. So again, it's the full spectrum of customers and all customer sizes and all industries that this is available for. And then I think just engaging from a call to action perspective. Our reps, we've got a lot of really good case studies, good examples, good stories, good references to tap into. So when you're ready, engage with our experts, explore the possibilities, learn what other customers are doing, and really just encourage you to sort of think outside the box and think about, what is it going to take to to bring your products and your applications to the next level. Analytics, I think, is really the answer. And again, I think it's one of those things that customers will just continue to expect more and more of, and it's important that you're ready.